All right. And just like fish, we don't go on at the exact ticketed time. It's 1 p.m. Eastern, we tell you. We advertise that heavily. We push it hard, but we're going to give you the extra 3 minutes. We want that tension to build. As Brad Sands once said on a little podcast called Undermine, it's all about audience control. We don't want there to be a rush to the doors. We want people to be able to hang out, grab another beer, maybe another coffee, maybe a croissant, maybe a
They want
bagel
people
sandwich.
sitting in their seat, gripping the one in front of them, wondering when it's going to start.
Oh, they said the show was going to start at 1 o'clock.
I
No,
timed
we
this
are here.
perfectly.
We are here. We are hanging out. This is the Helping Friendly podcast on tour. You know our faces. Little worn out after 2 nights of fish. Some of us from the
Are you talking
couch.
about me, Brian?
Yeah, that's a
I'm
rough,
talking about
dude. Come
me.
on.
It's been these 9 o'clock nights. It's pretty late for me. I can't handle
Well,
this.
I'm definitely feeling rough. I mean, I'm in desperate need of a shower. I'm definitely feeling rough. So it's fair if it's about me. It's fair. I'm a little whooped out.
You are having a great time though, aren't
I
you?
am.
You got your 12/30/19 tweezer hat on to celebrate the first MSG tweezer since 12/30/19. It's pretty amazing.
I know I didn't wear this hat last night, and I really should have, but it's okay.
Seems
They
to have
played
worked out.
another 12:30 tweezer for the ages.
It was a good tweezer, and we're going to talk about all of that. We have another just banging cast of characters joining us here today. We have Lucy Montgomery, we have Mike Lowe, and we have David Goldstein coming back to pod about fish. This is going to be awesome. We had a great conversation yesterday with the dudes from Wook plus young Ryan Storm, who gave us an amazing breakdown of Page's keyboard rig. Didn't even ask him to do it. And he just
that was
went
really
ahead
cool.
and just went off on a tangent that we were like, keep going, man. Keep going. No, keep jamming. Just keep jamming. It was awesome.
It was so awesome that he did that too, because yesterday I had a spot where I could actually see the keyboards, and I felt like I knew so much more about it. And it was so fun to kind of, especially during that like duel, which we'll talk about when Trey and Paige were like playing to each other. And it was just so fun to watch him. And after learning so much from Ryan, and then I got to meet Ryan on the street. We had this like serendipitous meeting. Yeah, we were walking after the show outside. I ran into him and his dad. So it was pretty awesome.
Nice. We spent so much time talking about Trey and his rig that, Paige is not getting his due. So it's about time Ryan showed up and sorted it out for us.
I was going to say, meeting people you interact with on Twitter or across the podcast in real life is always a great thing. It's always a lot of fun. Dave, who's going to be joining us, I remember meeting him for the first time outside of Wrigley Field before the fish shows. And we were like, dude, and we ended up becoming very, very close friends. Mike and I have been talking for probably the last 3 or 4 years. He's the reliable last East Coaster up recommending jams on Friday nights, and it's I thank him
last man
eternally
standing,
for
huh?
it. The last, yeah, and I'm out here in Mountain West time, so like I'm up wondering where the rest of humanity has gone to, and then there's Mike posting some amazing, slightly obscure fish jam that I'm like, yes, that's what I need to listen to at 11:30 at night. Like the 12-12-95 disease. I'm like, no one else is recommending this. And then Mike recommends it. And I'm like, this is what I need to hear as I'm staying up an extra 30 minutes, knowing I'm going to pay for it tomorrow. But it's what we do. This is what we do. So I was going to say, though, Ryan Storm, meeting him in person, it's like he knows everything about you when he meets you, and he's got like a rundown and a checklist, and it's like, dude, it makes you feel really good when you meet him in person. It's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was one of those awesome. I've had so many of these moments this weekend. It's just been like so cool meeting people that know the pod and just getting to see new people that I've met. So it's just been amazing.
It's fun. It's fun. This is the fun thing about actually going to see fish shows in concert rather than just watching dinner and movies in isolation or couch touring. We're going to talk about all of this and more. We're going to dive into the 12:30 show of the run. This was going to be 12:30. It is instead 4:21. This was dedicated to It is kind of math. I'm sorry. I don't mean to bring math or stats to the table here again. This was my mom's birthday yesterday, and I know she was really, really amped up about this show. She didn't care. But she was amped up for me and for my brother who is there. I want to tell you before we jump into this, couple quick bits of business. Please, 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 if you're listening out there, you're hanging with us, subscribe to Osiris Media on Apple Podcasts for HFPod Premium, Undermine Premium, lots of other great premium options. It's just a great way to support independent podcasting, which is what we do here. We're just hanging out, telling you our thoughts, and we'd love for you to support us here. We also have 2 sponsors that we want to tell you about. Who wants to tell us about, Jonathan, you want to tell us about Sunset Lake?
Can I do it? All right.
You can do it,
Sunset Lake CBD's line of smokable hemp products are for the old deadhead. Hi. Or the young fish fan searching for a mellow body high. Smoking CBD has all the benefits of high THC cannabis without the paranoia and anxious side effects. 9 different strains from this year's harvest. There's something for everyone. The Hawaiian Haze is awesome for an outdoor show. The Cherry Abacus is best for the end of the night. All the flower is grown, cured, and trimmed by Sunset Lake CBD farmers. Even better, Sunset Lake CBD's farm-to-table approach gets you great pricing on premium CBD flower by shipping it directly from their farm to your door. I got to say, I like that Cherry Abacus. It's nice, chill smoke.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good.
Keep that simple. We got a lot of guests, so I'm not going to go on and on about it, but it's pretty
good
rad.
Stuff.
And y'all should check them out today at www.sunsetlakecbd.com. Use our coupon code HFPod for 20% off all products. Sunset Lake CBD, farmer owned, Vermont grown.
We have another sponsor that is really killing it this week and hosted a really cool Osiris event yesterday. Megan, do you want to tell us about the bar at Moynihan?
Yeah, this place is amazing. The bar at Moynihan is in the new Moynihan Train Hall, which has been totally renovated. I hadn't been there yet. It's gorgeous. They have tons of food options too around the bar. So you can grab like a decently priced, I had like a really delicious Middle Eastern bowl and I just brought it over to the bar, and the bar is kind of in the central of this food hall. And it was such a great vibe. They were playing Fish and they had a great DJ playing other music too. And they have this exclusive Sierra Nevada foam Pilsner available. I saw RJ drinking it. I'm more of a tequila girl, but they were making me amazing tequila drinks. So I highly recommend, whether you want a cocktail or a beer, check the bar out. They're really great, like kind of pre-post show hub for Fish because it is literally across the street from MSG. It's just so convenient. They are all week going to be a pint's throw away from MSG. So you can hop off the Amtrak, the LIRR, the subway, and get a few beers before or after the show. So head to moynihanbar.com or follow the bar at Moynihan for more details. I was there yesterday for an Osiris event. It was super great. RJ was there. A bunch of Osiris people were there. Matt was there. We finally got to meet in person. That was really fun. So yeah, I would definitely recommend everybody check it out. It's an awesome place to hang out before the show.
Love it.
Sounds sweet.
Gotta have good stuff to make up for the disappearance of American Beauty and Rattle and Hum. And
this has much better food
like
too. They had everything around there, like pizza, Middle Eastern. They had some sushi. I mean, it's like everything's great.
Pensy was pretty rad too.
Pensy was great.
And it was extremely convenient and just like
right
a good
there.
place to run into your crew. And it sounds like this is the new thing.
It's the new place.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome. All right. Should we bring on our illustrious guests and recap this show? I think we should do that. They shouldn't be hanging out.
They're here. I mean, we may as well.
We're going to bring on Lucy Montgomery. Hey, Lucy.
Hey there. How's everybody doing?
We're doing well. How are you?
Good.
Awesome.
Hey, Lucy,
welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
We're also going to bring on Mr. David Goldstein. David.
Hey, everybody. Hey, folks.
What's up, Dave?
This is awesome, my buddy. This is Kevin. It's my other head back here.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
I'll just be like Yoko, just sitting by watching.
Just hanging out.
Perfect.
We're also going to bring on.
Where I can get back. He's bouncing his checkbook.
We're also going to bring on Mr. Mike Lowe. How are you, my man?
I'm good. How are you guys? Good to be here. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Mike.
Hey,
Good to
Mike.
see you.
Good to see y'all.
Hello.
How is everyone doing here today? Everyone good?
So good.
Yeah, better than I thought.
What are before we get into the meat of the show, what are our resolutions for the second 2022? I'm sorry, I'm going to stop making this terrible
new
dad joke,
year?
but the new year.
To rage.
To rage. I like that. That's a good joke. That's a good resolution. Lucy, I want to start with you. How long when was your first Fish show, and where are you at this point in terms of like seeing the band?
Oh gosh, so this is going to really date me, but my first Fish show was 12/29/89. When I was in college. Yeah.
This is amazing.
That is
So if you can do
cool.
that math, it's a little scary.
Fish in
But
the
yeah,
80s. This is awesome.
yeah. A friend of mine's older brother was at UVM and sent us a tape, and then they played over a Christmas break near my house, and it was $5. So we thought, why not? And a good habit, I guess I'll say, was born. So I've been seeing them pretty steadily since then. You know, obviously they've had their breaks. I had 2 kids in 17 months, and I had to take a little break, but pretty much consistently since then.
Oh, man,
So their last MSG run, we actually celebrated. My now husband, and I saw that show together, and it was our 30th anniversary of seeing Fish. So that was pretty fun.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is unbelievable. Oh man, I love the stories of people who started seeing Fish. Like, I feel like you can date it as like pre-1993, where you could kind of just be handed a tape, handed a ticket, be like, yeah, sure, I'll check this band out. Like anything after that, it was kind of like, I really want to go and see this band. But you come from the era of like, sure, what else are we going to do tonight? And then you're hooked for life. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah, once tickets got to be $25, it was like a commit.
It was a commitment. You had to plan for it. But the $5 ticket, that's a very, I can't even imagine that world. That's incredible.
I wish I had some kind of fun ticket stub from that show, but I don't. I did buy a t-shirt though, and we bought a cassette. So.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
I love that. That is amazing. We're going to have to, I want to go back in time and talk about that show, and maybe like dive into that deep in a separate pod. That is an amazing story.
Yeah, maybe you'll come back.
Yes, I think we're gonna have to do this. David,
I do have a tape from the next time they played. A friend of ours taped them. It's the Ardmore Music Hall now, but I've never really heard a tape from that night. I think only one set. Even the set list is available. So
is that 1990 when you saw him?
89. Oh yeah, the 90
show.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just talked about that. Yeah. When we did the 1990 rundown.
We did. That's amazing. David, I'm gonna try to guess because we've talked so much about Fish together. 6/28/95. Is that your first show?
Yep, and his first show.
I got it right. And
6/28/95, Jones Beach, Axla 2 opener, big 35-minute tweezer. Last night for me was number 86.
Right on.
Getting there.
Right on.
I was 69.
Very nice. Very good show. Mike, how about you? What was your first show?
Well, I was a little bit more of a late bloomer. I was aware of the band in high school and growing up in Florida in the mid-90s. And a lot of my friends were, and in fact, they played a free show at the band shell, which then Harry Hood was on the live one release. I could have gone to that show, and everyone I knew went to, but I did not. So it's my greatest regret. And then my first show was 8/8/97 at Tinley Park in Chicago.
Not bad.
And yeah, we had guest artist Sugar Blue played the harmonica, but Andrew Hitz did tell me after the show, he said that that this was the worst show of summer tour. So I felt really good
to
about
say that publicly.
This is how he is, though. But I was really fortunate, and it sort of reeled me in. And in '98, my second show was at Riverport, and that's really what sealed the deal. And saw Farm Aid and Neil Young and that set, and then went to my first UIC run and MSG that year. So last night was my 130th show.
Right.
So it's getting up there. And I've seen more shows at MSG, I think, than any other venue. I think that would have been my 20th show last night at MSG. So yeah, that's sort of my story, and I've got some other fun connections to the band, which sort of might come up or might not, involving John Fishman. This is sort of how I got into the whole scene, and he met my sister-in-law in '96 in Europe, and they became very good friends, and we've sort of been friends with him for 20 plus years at this point. So
wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
he
Cool.
comes. Yep, he's a gem.
He is.
Was she on the Europe tour that summer?
The funny thing is she was in Europe with two other good friends, just there, traveling, backpacking, doing the train thing, and ran into Fish Tour. And
No
I think
way.
in Italy, I think the show was the Corte Maggiore show, which is they played in basically like a
Santana
barn.
show?
Yeah, and at the end of the show, they opened up the back doors, and everybody left the show and went swimming.
Oh yeah, that was actually in Sesto Calende.
Sesto Calende, yes,
yeah, I was
that's
there.
the one. That's the one.
Yeah, I went swimming. It was amazing.
Yep, and then they got on I think she rode the bus to the next show, as a matter of fact, and like Trey was like, "Hey, you want to hear a song about a train? This is Train Song. We just wrote it." So the stories are endless. Yes.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Too
cool.
Incredible. Well, so last night, so all three of you, I'm guessing, and Megan included, you all were planning to go to the New Year's run back in December. And so this was booked initially as the 12:30 show. This is now moved ahead in time, basically 4 months. What were your thoughts, Lucy, starting with you? What were your thoughts going into this show? Were you there for night one of the run?
Yes, I was actually. Yeah. I think people always say this, but it's like the night before the night can be the night. And so I actually had pretty high expectations. I liked the Wednesday night show a lot, but it was, a little on the mellower side. And you could tell really from the first note last night that it was not going to be that way. So I was pretty pumped.
Yeah, you immediately get that Fish lore of Susie Greenberg is in attendance for her first Fish. I would have figured she would have gone to a show in the 80s as well. And I always kind of assumed she was a part of the scene, but you would think it would have come up at some point. But to have it be nearly 40 years into their career and her going to her first show, that sort of we had our TV set up on our back patio. My wife was finishing making dinner for our kids, and I was outside. And she goes, "Is Trey talking?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And she comes running outside because that's Trey doesn't come out on stage and just talk, He comes out and kind of introduces. So what were you guys all thoughts kind of as that was happening? That seemed pretty cool from the couch, at least.
It was really.
Trey is just saying whenever Trey's chatty, that's good.
Yeah.
So it's a really good sign.
I gotta say though, when they started 46 Days, I was wondering if Lee Fordham was there too.
Right, I had that thought when I heard that. They're going to name drop everybody here.
I thought it was a classic way to start a very sort of classic night of Fish, with an old school banger, basically. I don't think I've ever seen a Susie opener until last night, so it was fun.
I definitely had it.
The energy was off the charts for the first few tunes of that show, and it even took myself. It took me a while to sort of get settled in, and I don't think I really did until about Wolfman's Brother. To be honest, just me.
The first quarter, you get Susie, 46 Days, Plasma, and then the Man Who Stepped In Yesterday, Avenu, Man Who Stepped In Yesterday, and it's. The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday, this was the first version since 9/1/21, but it's only the 7th since the start of 3.0. It's rare enough that it's a real special thing whenever you get it. It's not really super rare songs. It's just songs that I don't think you expect to open a show with those 4 songs going in a row. Dave, I know that we were going back and forth talking about the Plasma last night. What were your thoughts on that from a musical standpoint? That seemed like the really cool, the best early moment of the show to me.
Yeah, that was kind of one indication that early key change, early type 2, and just relative to a lot of the stuff we saw at night 1, I thought the jamming felt effortless. Yeah. It felt like there was no strain. It was just coming freely like water. I will tell you, we were in section 101. the sound on a Wednesday night, for whatever reason, was not very good, which is odd considering how much they played the Garden. But it was completely dialed in from the first note last night. That made a huge difference in our end. But yeah, with that plasma, that was the fact that I can't recall much of that plasma just speaks to how incredible much of the rest of the show was. I gotta go back and listen to it. But that was it really very much portended well for the rest of the evening.
I feel like that's where we're gonna say it. That's where the hose started last night.
Yeah.
And I actually was thinking about 12:30:18 and the crazy plasma they played last night. And then I believe Trey even referenced plasma a couple times in the second set. We can get into that, but it came back.
There were kind of callbacks and hints throughout the show.
Yeah.
I felt like,
Many.
from a lyrical
Yeah.
standpoint.
Totally. And then some foreshadowing too, maybe. But
Mm-hmm.
that was I was really happy they played that. That's sort of like one of the new really groovy it's this great
Yeah, the groove based jamming in that I really enjoyed. And I felt like if we're looking for any sort of larger themes so far in the run, Trey seems to be, I was talking to another friend about this, Trey seems to be backing off from his synthesizer effects kind of early on in this run. And it seems like he's really trying to deliberately play these very clean melodies and like really clean ideas. And you heard it right away in Plasma. It would return in Wolfman's, in Ghost, in the second set as well. Lucy, as the resident Fish fan who's seen Fish in the 1980s, do you know how many times you've seen The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday? Like, do you know, like, is this a song?
I'd have to go look at my stats, but I really don't know actually. So sorry about that.
It's such a song that every time.
But it's always a treat to see. I feel like, even when you've seen it a bunch of times before, it always sort of drops in a little unexpectedly and just feels good.
Yeah, I feel like I've only seen like 2 or 3 versions, but every time I see it, it takes me back to just like old, like Gamehenge, early pure Fish in a lot of cases. I love it.
I've been seeing Fish since 1994, and I've never seen The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday.
Wow.
Stop it. Seriously?
Yeah, it's one of those like things, one of those anomalies in my stats. They don't play that for me.
Oh man.
So good thing for all of you. I wasn't there last night. So you guys.
That actually, there was a few moments in the first set that to me really indicated that there was something special going on. And Trey talking, definitely whenever he talks, it's just it indicates he's feeling loose and happy and relaxed. And I feel like when they dropped into, I thought Plasma was awesome, and then when they dropped into The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday, that's a song to me that's just, it's a special song, and it's only played when they're really feeling it. And it was beautifully played. And the party during Avinu Malkeinu was just like awesome. The whole place was just, I can't tell you how many times last night I looked around MSG, and it was just, the energy was just out of this world. The whole place was just bouncing and like exulting in joy, like over and over again. There were so many moments like that last night, particularly during the second set, which obviously was such a monster. You're right, it kind of dwarfs this set in my mind. We were actually, for the first set, up in the back of 223, and it was behind the boxes, and the sound is actually pretty muted back there. And it was kind of challenging for that first set. I felt like it's just this pocket that's kind of like tucked back, and there's no direct speaker back there. And because the boxes are in front of you, you don't get the big speaker push. So I fixed that for second set, and I was much closer, and I had an amazing spot and tons of room to dance, and the sound was just incredible. But I really felt like that was definitely like the moment when they played The Man Who Stepped In Yesterday, that they kind of entered into this zone of just everything they played from then on, to me, was like really locked in, and they were just really connected.
I think also like there was...
No, I was just going to say, to this very day, seeing 16,000 people singing Avinu Malkeinu takes me back to being 13 and having to learn that song for my bar mitzvah. Thinking, wow.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad, here's this really song we sing in the high holidays. The fish sings it, so they're okay.
It's so awesome. It's also
Not
really
getting into
important.
anything bad here. Yeah.
Not to get political, but it's really important to hear those kinds of songs and to celebrate that in this day and age. So
Absolutely.
I feel like that's a thing that was played at my first show, and I grew up in Michigan in a very homogenous environment, and seeing that show in like very Christian dominated Michigan to hear that song played was just really powerful to me and has always stood with me. So I really love to hear that, and I felt like that was an awesome moment.
I thought they pumped a lot of energy into it too. I mean, it's not like they were low energy prior, but you could really feel it coming through on Avena. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, it's the interesting thing about like the way that they structured the set list going into this this part of the show was nothing was really shocking. It was just all really good song selections and everything was played really well. And I felt like, night one definitely had some moments that were really rusty and rough around the edges. I think specifically, I won't get into it like I did yesterday, but Reba was really challenging on the ears in some areas. And for them to play The Man Who Stepped In yesterday, which to me is a song, like I said it a couple minutes ago, it just sounds like pure Fish to me. It sounds like if you're just going to like say to someone, this is the sound of Fish, like that is one of the songs I would play for them. And it's such a, foundational composition from Trey, and for them to play that and play it as well as they did kind of reset things and transitioned us into this second half of the first set where you get two stalwarts that turn out incredible performances and another rare composition that allows the band to really showcase, how they're playing. Really quick, just we are live right now. Mike, I just want to let you know I'm not able to hear your mic. If you want to just recheck your mic settings, we'll be able to hopefully hear you and bring you on.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. There we go.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to chime in about The Man. I mean, we can move on for sure. I've had a sort of a weird connection with that one too, and seen it a number of times. And you mentioned the Nassau show. That was actually my birthday, 12/1/19, and it was really crazy to get that show, that and other songs on that No Repeat tour on that night. So
Yeah.
and then another one that really stuck out was the Alpine '99 show.
Oh yeah.
Where they played The Man in the first set. It was sort of a short first set, but that was a big feature in that. So yeah, I totally agree with everyone. It brought up a lot of Gamehenge feelings, and then it was really interesting when they played Esther later. Just more old song composition. And I think you said this, Brian, but I feel like Trey was really emphasizing his clean lead playing last night with very little effect, and just really just laying back at times and then just coming up out of the fray at the exact perfect time. And Fish is an amazing band at like making the simple things sound magical, like an arpeggio or a scale, and Trey did that a lot. We'll get into the My Pet Cat business later. But anyway, I just wanted to emphasize, it was interesting that he's not been using as many of the effect, like the low end stuff from last year.
No, and I wonder, like, and I'll pose this to you guys as like we're moving into like the bigger jam portions of the show, like Wolfman's and Ghosts, especially here in the first set. I wonder, in a sense, as I'm thinking about it, like, there's a part of me that's like, oh man, every time you went to the synthesizer pedal in 2021, it was like magic, and like you and Paige would just connect, and it created these soundscapes that were so unique and so new to Fish in some cases. I almost wonder now if utilizing the synthesizer pedal was just a means to an end to get him to think more about riffage and like to think more about these like clean and complete riffs that now he's applying without effects. I don't know Jonathan, what are your thoughts on that as a guitarist?
Synthesizers are just so 2021, man. No, I think that there's something to what you're saying. I think that really just Trey doesn't sit still. So he's he worked through that. We're gonna hear it. I think we have heard some of it, and we'll keep hearing it. I think in more artful and tasteful deployments, just not every jam, which is, I think, good because he's got a lot of tools. He was leaning heavy on that, now I think he's got it set to where he can go there if he wants, but we can get something like the Chalk Dust, which I'm trying.
As great as those effects are, I felt like they frequently entered the same space.
Yeah,
totally.
Last year, and it was he'd start doing the the arpeggiator thing, and but it was sort of like, I can play lower than you, Mike. Here, check it out.
That was cool. I hope to see that again.
Anyway, yeah, I think you're totally right, Jonathan. I think he's going to find a way to mix it in more tastefully and artfully, and maybe in more unique ways that we haven't experienced yet.
So we move into this 3-song suite that ends the first set. We get Wolfman's, which the last performance in Mexico was stunning, and this was a really cool, a little bit more standard approach, but with a lot of color around it. We get Esther, and then we get Ghost to close things out. Dave and Kevin, from the show vantage point, what were your thoughts on this segment of the show?
Man, the Wolfman's, the one word I just keep coming back to describe the whole show was effortless. Whereas Wednesday, you could see the seams, you could kind of see the gears turn in Trey's head. This was just the Wolfman's. It was light, it was funky, it was effervescent. One of the more enjoyable ones I've seen live. That they also built quite a rage smoke show at the end. We were both saying Esther. I think that was the first time I've seen Esther.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. Or maybe I saw.
It's a little flubby. Like, there's a lot of words, a lot of little riffs, a lot of still plenty well done. Never ever going to complain about seeing something old school like Junta like that. And the Ghost, it just completely crushed. And it had like a tweezer reprise style jam that was taken wholesale from the incredible Korean they played in San Francisco back last October.
That's right.
And it kind of ended in just an onslaught of spinning blue and red lights in a spiral, and it was just a cacophony of noise, and it was night and day from last night. It was, you say, okay, I checked my watch a lot last night. I didn't tonight. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Lucy, what were your thoughts on this segment of the show?
Yeah, so I thought the Wolfman's was great. I mean, my guy sitting next to me left and came back, and it was the song. He's like, "What song is this?" I'm like, "It's still Wolfman's." I thought that jam really had a funky vibe. I really liked it. I was sort of surprised with the Esther as a song choice, so that was fun. And of course, the Ghost was crazy. I know a lot of people thought that might kick off this run, so that was fun to see. I wrote a little note. I was kind of keeping a set list and making notes, and I wrote next to it, insane. So
Yes.
There you go.
that's kind of what I thought it was. But to whoever was just saying the point about the time, the set wasn't that much longer than the Wednesday night set, but it ended, and you just I had no idea what time it was. You could have told me it was, whatever. You just lost in the music, I think.
A lot of people
like
first night were saying on the Twitter, because that's what I look at when I'm couch touring, that as first set ended, we're like, that seems short.
Yeah.
Short.
Oh, it felt that way.
I didn't see that, and last night, and it was about the same length, I think.
Yeah.
Was it really? That's crazy. But I feel like there's two different kinds of shows. There's like the Fish shows that you go to where there's some really great moments and some super fun jamming and like some interesting song selections, and you're kind of listening to the show in a way that you're thinking about the songs, or you're thinking about that kind of stuff. And then there are shows that just transcend that, and you're just listening to the music and you're being taken on a journey. And that was last night. And I think that kicked off with Wolfman's. And to me, it was a journey back to 1997, and I was here for it. Bring the funk.
Awesome.
The minute they started ripping that funk and Wolfman's, my girlfriend and I, we've just met recently, my friend Nina, like in the last few years, but we both were seeing Fish in the 90s, and we're both just like 97 junkies. And so yes, I see you, Mike. So when that stuff started ripping last night, we just looked at each other and we were like, okay, like it's on. And we just started dancing so hard. And the Ghost first of all, that was also my first Esther, which is super
wow.
exciting. Yeah. So I was just like, also a special song, one of those songs that they just see you, Dave, that they don't play, very often. And it's just It's right. It's like old fish lore song. It's just like a harken back to a time. It's just magical. So I was super excited to see that. And then the Ghost just absolutely tore the roof off. And that was one of those songs that had ended. And they didn't even want to get off that stage for set break. But they came back with a vengeance.
I brought some stats because everyone here has either seen Esther only a few times or their first time last night. Somehow, Esther has only been played 128 times, which kind of makes sense. It's a very creepy song, and it's very challenging to play. And you got to imagine at some point they were like, okay, let's take a break on this one. But I personally, I love it. But it's just, it's out of their original compositions. It's like if you're going to play that or Reba, it's, you're probably going to play Reba. It's going to have a little bit more bang for its buck in some cases.
Wasn't there a show from 2000 where Trey, they play Esther, and Esther's afterwards, he's like, okay, she's dead.
Hold on.
Dead.
Can I comment on that?
Right.
Yeah.
That was Las Vegas 2000.
9:30.
And that was my first Esther. That was my introduction to Esther, and he basically forgot the words. He got to the end of the song, and she died.
It's over.
But I think last night they played Esther on Jimmy's night, and I think that might have been my first one since. Weirdly, I think I've seen like 5 or 6 of these. I don't know why. I've got some weird stats. They played one in Merriweather like in 2009.
Yep.
That was not a great show, but that was sort of a highlight. But it never really comes out. And I think what you said about other choices, last night when they were playing Esther, I was thinking maybe they're ready to play Bowie again.
That's the hope. That's the hope.
Could be.
Maybe tonight.
Don't tease
play
me.
Bowie.
Sorry.
Bowie opener.
The Ghost, to all your points about 97 and like Wolfman's was completely in the pocket, and then when they play Ghost, the thing that is so interesting about this version, and I saw them close the first set of Phoenix last year with Ghost, and it's a very interesting spot for Ghost because on the one hand, Ghost is a jam vehicle, on the other hand, Ghost is kind of this perfect song for a 12-minute go to A major and just like soar and just peak, and everybody loses their mind. And this, along with the Phoenix version, kind of combined those two approaches. Like it was they were exploratory. There was a lot of diverse playing. They weren't staying in one lane, but they were driving towards this peak. And it was a well-earned peak. And we talked about it yesterday that like the Blaze On kind of felt like, okay, we have to play Blaze On 420 because but we're going to play it. And then there wasn't like that energy wasn't totally found. And then in the Ghost, this is totally, totally earned. And my notes on it was a hyper unique version that's aligned with most rock peak Ghosts. Like at the end of the day, it's a rock peak Ghost, but it was super unique. And I listened back this morning. I was like, oh my God, this holds up so much better than I thought it would last night. I feel like it's going to be a highlight we're going to listen to throughout 2022.
Yeah, that ending where Trey is just, layering his delays was just sick. I just really, really love that. And you're right. It's not one of those like early first set Ghosts that kind of goes major, is really groovy, but you're out in 12 minutes and then or 8 minutes or something. They really, I think they packed a lot into this, even though sub 20-minute jam. And
I really
can imagine being pretty psyched as the set ended.
I really felt like they were going to play Tweezer after that Ghost. That pretty much sort of sealed it for me, because they were reprising in the jam. There was some teasing and the layering, as you were talking about.
Anyone else have any final thoughts about set 1 before we jump into the second set here? This was a good set 1.
Yeah, I think it's still really crazy that last night set 1 and the night before set 1 were the same time, because I lost total track of time during the set last night, and it did not feel short. It actually felt like a really long set. And watching this show the night before, my first thought was that was short. So it's really interesting, just the perspective I think we can have.
Time turns elastic.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I could tell from at home that that was a great show. It was a great first set, and I was on a bedtime duty last night with my son, and I was like, I need to get my son asleep. as soon as possible so I can be back here for the second set. And when that happens, you know that you're in a really good space because you're just like you're anxious even from the couch to get back home for the second set or get back to the couch for it. So we get this stunning chalk dust torture into tweezer that reminded me in a lot of cases of 8/7 2015 from Blossom. This smooth segue from chalk dust into tweezer. Lucy, what were your thoughts
of that summer tour? In my opinion,
that is your favorite show. That's a very good show. A great second set. Lucy, what were your thoughts in the kind of early part of this second set, the chalk dust tweezer 2001 maze segment?
I'm shaking my head. They just sort of say similarly to the first set, but really with just sort of upping the energy a little bit. I think they just came out and played, those few songs, and it was just amazing. I maintain that I know you rider teased during the chalk dust jam, but other than that, I really thought it was like high energy and so much fun, and just like looking around MSG and like the pure joy on virtually everybody's face was just really, really fun to see. And again, like totally lost sense of time and how long these songs were, and you look at it on Live Fish this morning and it's like I really had no idea. It was great.
Right.
It's interesting you describe it that way because it reminded me in some cases just like the placement and the way it was delivered, like the Baker's Dozen chalk dust, which has like a very distinct I Know You Rider jam, and I had the exact same sentiment there with like I spent the majority of that jam just looking around at the crowd and being like, everybody is here, everybody is having the greatest time. And last night's chalk dust, like in that spot, second set opener on that night after the first set that they played, to then deliver a jam like that, it was heroic in a lot of cases.
Plus, the chalk just kind of had a hood ending, didn't it?
That's what I was hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I kept singing the hood leads over the end of the chalk dust jam, and that's why I feel like they were sort of teasing a hood later on.
Yeah, teasing a hood, or even call back to like Baker's chalk dust double chocolate night.
Correct. Actually, you know what? You mentioned that there was a sexy thing last night. Quick tease at the end of Chalk. I swear to God, I remember thinking that sexy thing. Like Mike played. There's a quick little bass line reference, sort of similar to what happened later with Kung, where it was quickly referenced, but then was not played.
Oh my God! I thought they were going to play Kung. I was dying.
I did too. I wrote like 3 times in my notes, Kung, yeah. And like it happened like so far enough apart that I was like, is he actually going to do this? Yeah, chalk dust was, it was brilliant. It was a multi-part jam. Every single segment felt like, of course, they're playing this after what they just played, and it's a whole new, there's a modulation, in it, and we're in new keys, and we're in like, we go from major to minor, and like everything felt like it just matched up. It was the kind of jam where like you almost, if you didn't listen to enough Fish, you would almost be convinced like they planned this backstage, right? Like this is pre-written because it all flows together so well. But that's 40 years of playing together. The segue into tweezer, we get a relatively speaking short tweezer, but I don't think it's short in ideas. Jonathan, what were your thoughts on this? Your pet tweezer.
Your pet tweezer. So
Here we go.
I'm glad you said it because I heard it. And I heard it on and off the rest of the night. And I'm looking over here at fish.net, and guess what I don't see? But I want to say about the chalk dust. I thought the chalk dust had just that pure clean guitar you guys were talking about in the first set. This is a great example of that in the jam here. Chalk dust. It's just beautiful. Trey's just like singing crystal clear tone through some of that jam was absolutely beautiful. And this tweezer, it gets down. I had a lot of fun listening to this tweezer. I don't take notes anymore. I just know that they were playing hard, and even my wife was in here with me for a change. She's usually got anything better to do, but last night she hung out with me, and she enjoyed it. And yeah, the Your Pet Cat stuff, which you could hear, and I was like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna? No, they're not really playing it. He played it, but they're not playing it. And then the 2001, same thing. It's like, okay, playing 2001. You could hear they dropped the beat. Everybody's playing 2001. Trey's like, or your pet cat.
Oh my
But
God.
no. But no. Like, and then they did it again. You know, they did a peak, and then he was like, I could still do this, but no. And,
But it was amazing how he did it
it's-
though, because he was like bringing it in and then bringing it out, and then
Yep.
also like stretching those notes out at times. Like in a tweezer, he's like pulling those your pet cat notes
Well,
out.
yeah,
a
he
little bit.
started playing it like really,
Yeah.
like really slow.
Yeah.
Which is
I mean, it was so
magically
textured.
psychedelic when you start playing a fast thing really slow.
Yeah.
It just really
Yeah.
gets to you, and I love
He
that.
was really, really locked in last night. They were all like listening so well to each other, and I just felt like that whole segment through up to About to Run, I didn't even know what was happening. Like I was existing on a different level. We were just dancing in this universe where like the music was better than it just kept being better. Like it was just, I really felt like they were really exploring in a way that was like, to your point earlier, Dave, like it was really effortless. Like it
Yeah.
was like they were playing with this like real strong intent and like really connected to each other, but also just like loose. And that's where you hear those kind of like self-referential ideas and like these teases that are then stretched out and brought back. And you know how they ended the set by like going in between, you know, songs. And I just think there was so much freedom and elasticity to the playing. It was absolutely magical. This summer I saw 2 nights in Hershey and a night in Atlantic City. That's the only Fish I saw in 2021. I know I missed the whole fall tour. It's kind of devastating. So last night, second set, was the best set of Fish I've seen since 12/30/19. Like it was absolutely magical, and I was just really happy to be there. And just that whole second set was, everything was played so well. But that first 4-song set, like part of the set, is just, it's a must. It's a classic.
I'll keep this really short. The tightness you alluded to when you first picked up there was exactly what enabled Maze to happen, and
What a
why it
great
worked so
Maze.
well. They were just all dialed into one another, and we got a good Maze.
That might have been my favorite Maze I've heard in a really long time. I'm not like a huge fan of that song, hearing it live, but last night I was like, this is ripping. This is really good.
Well played under the right circumstances.
Yes. Yeah.
I think the playing was just so good, and that especially that first half of the second set, that it's like it wouldn't have mattered what the song was.
No, it's
you know,
exactly
like
right.
you
Yes.
just were sort of like on the wavelength and just in it for the ride, and you know, whatever kind of dropped in would have been, you know, you weren't thinking about the structure of the set. You were just really kind of like took yourself away with it. I really like that. That's like for
100%.
me, that is like what makes a show really exceptional.
Yes.
Totally.
To that.
I think that's such a good point. And like the idea, like for me, my favorite shows I've been to, it really doesn't matter what the set list was. I'm almost not even thinking about what the songs are throughout it, because every song seems to be the right pick
Choice.
at the time. The music that comes out of it is great. The thing that I find really interesting about last night is those songs that are picked are huge Fish songs. You know, we're talking in the first set, we need a breather after the opening 3 songs. We get The Man Who Stepped Into Yesterday. We're going to get a small breather composition after Wolfman's. We're going with Esther. We're not going to go Chalk Dust into whatever. We're going Chalk Dust into Tweezer. And then we're going to play Maze in the middle of the second set. Only the third time since 2012 that we've had Maze in the second set.
Yeah.
After About to Run, we need a breather. We're going to play Mango Song. Like, this is like the time for like
They play it so
Mango
well.
song is only a breather for the audience.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, no,
Like,
you're absolutely right. It's a
Not
very
really.
complicated
Totally
song.
true.
My point is like
Depending on who
we're-
you are and how you
we're gonna
dance.
play like a song that's like a little bit of like a reset for the audience, but instead of like, here's your standard. I'm just gonna say this because it's the first song that's come to my mind. I love this song, but like, you know, it's a slot for like a lonely trip where like everyone take a step back, relax. But instead we're gonna play Mango Song, like a classic older Fish song, and then we're gonna play Hood. And I mean, my point is, it didn't matter what they played last night, but even when it didn't matter, every song selection was like, it happened to be just a huge selection in that moment,
Perfect.
which is just really wild. It's a unique approach.
So
It
great.
does-
Guys, I have to interrupt for a minute because I have to jump off. I'm so sorry. This is not a conversation I want to get off of, but I have parent-teacher conferences with my kids. So
Get to those parent-teacher
Yeah,
conferences
yeah,
so
go
you
get
can
'em.
go rage 3 sets tonight, Meg. You got to do
yeah,
it.
I got to adult. So I'll try to
it.
try to send some good vibes your way. And it was so great to have all of you guys on. I really appreciate it. So thanks everybody. Have a
Bye.
great show
Hi,
tonight.
Meg.
Yeah, you
You
too.
too.
Meg. Mike, I think you were going to say something about the set list.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, sorry. I think I lost my train of thought.
You're okay.
Keep going. Keep going. I'll come back.
I'll just say something that you and I were talking about before we went live, and I want to get everyone's thoughts on this. I was thinking this morning when I was listening to this show that it kind of reminded me of, like, do you remember in early 3.0 when a lot of shows, they would have a lot of big Fish songs, but then there'd be 7 or 8 additional songs tacked in there. So you'd get like a 25 song set, and it felt like a recital in some cases, and there wasn't a ton of jamming. Like last night felt to me like a fusion between their approach in early 3.0, where they were, really focused on celebrating their catalog, but also a lot of improvisation. And it felt like the best of what we've seen over the last couple of years with Fish, with the best of when they came back, and that purity around their catalog. I don't know if anyone else heard that, or if you guys, what you guys' thoughts are on that.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like the rotation they had in Mexico most recently, as in there's a big focus on getting the big heavy hitters, the big celebrations of Fish on the table. Less so, they played a song from Sci-Fi Soldier kind of half-heartedly, but less Sci-Fi Soldier, less Cast Vote, less Lonely Trip, more of like the meat and potatoes deep cuts. Deep cuts.
I thought that album went pretty strong, by the way. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, I'd have to go back. I was like 8 minutes of kind of like Stevie Wonder Spunk, the howling. I was hoping
sign me up. I'd buy that record.
Good record.
At first, I thought that was going to be Emotional Rescue. It had the same like beat, and I got really excited. And then when they started yelling, I'm like, "Oh, this is Sci-Fi Soldier." Okay.
Yeah. Well, we might get Egg in a Hole tonight.
I'd be very happy to get Egg in a Hole.
Got to get back to Chicago.
Gotta get back to Chicago.
You gotta get back.
If I may, just briefly, about that tweezer. Sometimes you get tweezers that are heavy. Sometimes you get ones that are funky, and sometimes you get ones that you just want to soak in, like a bathtub full of like your Dr. Teal's Epsom salts. That was last night. To me, that tweezer had like an all-encompassing warmth. He kind of held a note towards the end that felt like you're in this cocoon. There was like light blue lights on stage. It was very, very pretty, very comforting. I always talk about Hartford 2013 as the helping dog tweezer, because that to me reminds me of one of those big golden retrievers that goes to children's hospitals for kids. But last night was in the helping dog vein. So it's really good.
It reminded me of the Magnaball tweezer in a lot of cases. Just like it was a sunset tweezer. It just the warm embrace of tweezer. You felt it last night. It was great.
Right.
So moving on to the last portion of the second set here. So we talked about, we get Mango. This is our quote unquote breather, but as the musicians in the room have told me, it's not.
That's a hard song to play.
It's a hard song to play. I won't even.
It's a hard key and everything.
Very complex, but it's got the airiness for the listeners out there. Those of us who are talking about Fish and not actually playing Fish, we get to take a break, is what I'm saying. But we close the set with Hood, and then what has to be one of the most interesting character zeros played in years, there with the Powdered Knight character zero, because we get character zero where the Jedi pedal comes back into it. We go into Tweezer. We get a full on. It's only like 90 seconds on tape, but like when you're listening to it, it feels like they're back in a jam and they're grooving. And then a very seamless segue back into character zero. This to me, Mike, you referenced 12-1-19. This kind of reminded me of 11-30-19. I think that was where all
the Providence
tweezers were happening.
Yep.
Yeah, and just the setlist gimmickry that happens with Fish from time to time, where they've played so many of these songs so often, and at the end of the day, character zero is one of those songs that to just play that in an arena filled with 20,000 people, you have to be just so high up at that point. You're just playing 3 chords and you're just rocking out. and for them to find a way into Tweezer, it's such a unique, fishy thing. Lucy, what were your thoughts on this last part of the second set here?
So I'm kind of a fan. I mean, I love Character Zero. I always think that just sort of adds a little extra bit to a set. So I actually was really happy to hear it. And I love the way it went into Tweezer, and he's kind of didn't, I mean, I thought this was kind of true of the show in general. There was so many little teases here and there. You never were really sure where it was all going. And so I was kind of surprised to, I thought maybe Character Zero wouldn't finish. But I liked it. I thought it was a, really fun way, to kind of bring the set around and come to an end. I noticed like everybody was out of glow sticks, which I've never seen a Character Zero without any glow sticks, or, not in a long time. So that I did kind of note. But then there seemed to be some for Tweezer reprise in the encore, not to jump ahead. So don't know what was up with that.
Yeah, no, it's a good sign when the glow sticks have been used up before the end of the second set. It's a sign that we've had a lot of time to throw.
I almost felt like Trey didn't get enough of his Hendrix tone in About to Run, so he was going to play Zero again, later in a way.
That's interesting.
About to Run seemed a little muted. It was great, but it wasn't fully developed. Maybe it was the only moment where I was like, maybe that wasn't the right choice, but it was good. But he gets that Hendrix sort of lead quality to his and the same thing sort of comes up in Character Zero, and then I think they modulated to go back into Tweezer and then modulated back to Zero, and it was really great. And I'm usually not a fan of that song. I mean, I got so many first set closers in like 99 and 2000 where it's Character Zero, close the first set or second set. And funny enough, the first one I ever saw was like in the 2-hole of a second set, like New Year's 98. It was really a strange spot. And I think Tweezer followed it, interesting enough. But yeah, no, it's a similar vibe. It was a fun little, like, sort of, I don't know, it's almost like the band playing a little inside joke on themselves.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not alone, Mike. I've known a lot of people who were just over Zero from just how many times they saw it played in the late 90s. And Zero's set's over. I'm going to run to the can before the line forms and all of that. I'm not one of those guys because I wasn't seeing that many shows through that era. I saw a lot in 99. But I've always liked the song. But I will say I was sitting on the sofa and here last night, and Harry Hood happens. It was amazing. Loved it. Character Zero. Okay, well, I'll write it out. Like, it was either that or go jump in the shower. I'll write it out. That's fine. So glad I did, because beautiful work. And it would have been just my luck to get out of the shower, look at my phone, and go, gosh, shit.
They played Tweezer.
That 90 seconds was worth sitting through the entire Character Zero, which is always 100%. Fun anyways, but that 90 seconds just like doubles the value.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like one of my first, so I'm a child 2.0. My first show was February 2003. My introduction to the band, my mom randomly got me Bittersweet Motel for Christmas one year, and I don't think she realized what she did when she well, I think she does now 20 years later. But I remember, there's that performance of Character Zero from The Great Went, and like they do such a great editing build up where like the guitar that goes into the peak is built up as they're showing these like still shots of people running into The Great Went and like running up to the stage, and then Trey screaming to the crowd of 100,000 people. And I always go back to that when I hear the song. Like, to me, I get it. It was played a lot in the late 90s. If you saw Fish at that point a lot, like you were hearing Zeros like every 2 or 3 shows. I just love the fact that they have like a 3-chord song that they can rock out. Like this band that plays You Enjoy Myself has a song like Character Zero as like a contrast in a lot of cases. And to do that into Tweezer and then to go back, so much has been discussed about Trey deciding to finish songs mid-jam in the last 2 years. Everything's Right is usually the victim of this, where like, Down Z's on night 1 of this run, where like they go back into the conclusion of it.
I was so confused they did that.
Yeah.
On the first night.
Yeah, I thought it was a different song. Like,
When
what
was
is
the
it?
last time you heard the end of Down with Disease, Dave?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
when
1994.
I was listening to the Key Arena release from '96, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What's he saying?
Like, for them to go from one song into another song to close it, and then to do it so seamlessly, like I was loving that on the couch, and I was curious how they were going to label it on Live Fish and on Fish.net, and I'm happy that they labeled it correctly as Character Zero into Tweezer into Character Zero.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. So this second set, I loved it from home. It sounds like everyone who was there loved it as well. This was a good second set.
Yeah.
We get an encore. I don't want to be blasphemous here. I feel like I say this every episode, but I don't want to be blasphemous here. But A Life Beyond the Dream, I get massive Jerry Ballard vibes from this song. Like late second set,
Wow.
Jerry Ballard vibes. Am I do you guys need to kick me off the show, or does anyone agree with this?
I hear more
I
Broadway
agree with
than
it. It's
Jerry,
like it'd
but-
be coming out of space if it was in the Grateful Dead second set world.
That's
Yeah,
what
it's
I
like
hear.
maybe in the Standing in the Moon.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what I hear. I get it. Like the lyrics are very earnest, but like I get this like very like slowly rising peak out of it. Jonathan, you haven't said anything. What do you thought? What are your thoughts?
If drum space ended with Jerry standing alone, no instrument, a single spotlight on him, and he's singing straight out to the audience, like as Dave says, Broadway, sure. I just don't quite get that vibe that you're leaning into, Brian. I want to say I really like the song, though.
It's a great song. It's a beautiful song, and like everything off it Goes to the Forest. It's really touching. We get that. It's a really good performance, and then we get Twee's reprise. And my thought was just there's no reason to store this for Saturday night. Just let everybody rage. This was a killer show. Let everybody go out just like with smiles on your face after Twee's reprise and wanting 2 more nights of Fish without the mystery of when are they going to drop the reprise.
I think it's nice of them to let everybody out of the freezer for the rest of the weekend.
It was a good accent after, I think A Life Beyond the Dream would have been a little bit of like a slow ending to that and kind of change the vibe on the way out, whereas the Tweezer reprise really kind of was more the punctuation to that second set and really that whole show.
I was half expecting it to be like Sleeping Monkey Tweezer reprise or Contact Tweezer reprise. So
I was expecting First Tube, to be honest. I felt like they could have kept the energy going, but maybe they want to hold that back for another night. I get it. So
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Saturday night we're gonna end with a First Tube. Hood, Slave, and Tweezer reprise are now off the table.
Wow.
So this was a good show. This was I think worthy of its original date in the calendar, and it was worthy of the run that we were on. I want to go around the room here, starting with you, Jonathan, because you're right next to me. Recommended jam from last night. What's your jam of the night?
I think that Chalk Dust, but I've only ever heard any of it once, so I reserve the right to change that by the end of the weekend.
We're not holding anyone to this. There will be no judgment if you change your mind. Lucy, how about you? What was your jam of last night?
I think it might have been The Ghost. Oops. Sorry. Sorry about that. I have the set list pulled up on, So I would actually say I really love The Ghost, and, I did like the Character Zero, as I said, but probably that end of the first set jam really was, as I said before, insane.
I doubt there will be any wrong answers here.
I don't think so. There were really good jams last night. Kevin, what was your jam last night?
I would say the Tweezer. I shared Dave's feeling of it. I described it more as like a lazy Saturday morning, just curled up under the blankets, wanting to just stay in and sleep. And that's just how the Tweezer felt to me. And it was wonderful.
How about a lazy Saturday morning with a helping dog come in to bring you a cup of coffee? Just like
there you go.
That's it right there.
Is it a yellow dog?
The yellow dog. It is.
Saint Bernard.
Ugly yellow dog.
Saint Bernard. Dave, what about you? Is it the Tweezer or something else?
Ghost.
Yeah.
Ghost is just take my brain out, splattered it all over MSG, then put it back.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Give me my thoughts back at the end of it. Mike, how about you?
I think I'm with you guys. I think it's between the Ghost and the Chalk Dust. And, you know, just looking at the show, if you started listening to the show at Ghost and then kicked into the second set, that's a crazy run of music right there.
Yeah.
But the Chalk Dust had some really incredible elements, like as did Tweezer, where they get into a nice bliss peak, maybe a little reference to the 1230 Tweezer. But I think the Ghost was really the moment where, yes, as Dave said, splattered around the walls.
Yeah, I think I'm going Ghost as well. Although, as I say it, I'm like that effortlessness of the Chalk Dust Torture. I want to kind of. I was listening to it this morning. I was just like, I just want to live in this jam. You know, like you get that vibe of like, if I could live in a world where like everything felt like how this jam sounds, just like new ideas constantly, very pleasant, very calm, very creative. Like that's the space you want to be in. But the Ghost, man, that what a unique, like, insane version of it. No better word. Insane. Incredible jamming. Does anyone have any ideas or any probably wrong predictions for what the gag will be tonight?
I think they're gonna mess with time. I don't know if they're gonna play Time Turns Elastic, but I did get I got a great sticker last night of the Back to the Future. Like, I need to look at it some more, but it actually, like, with the numbers, it sort of makes sense. But I kind of feel like they're gonna do something with that, whether it's elastic or not. I feel like they're gonna mess with time.
Maybe Time Turns Elastic because they played it at Ninth Cube extremely well.
You're right.
Clearly, they rehearsed the hell out of that song, so that
and
might have been.
Why do you rehearse it if you're not planning to do something with it?
Right.
It's an interesting
I
point.
mean,
I hadn't thought about it like
That's
that.
a good point.
Because that was a really random bust out that night.
Not only did they rehearse it, but like he even he had to relearn to play it in standard. Because he used to keep a differently tuned guitar on stage.
He has a green guitar for that one.
Yeah, but he didn't for the Ninth Cube. He pulled out just played it on his regular axe. So
yeah, before the cancellations, I was sort of thinking it was going to be an Evolve gag, but now it's just sort of like, who knows? But they had it planned, so whatever it is, it's in the bag. You know,
you could really play at the Passover angle and do the like 10 plagues.
That sounds festive.
A pretty big ask, but by the time they got to the firstborn and like Fishman like falls from the stage. Awesome.
I think we're going with that. That is the consensus choice right now.
Let's do that.
Old Testament.
Well, Lucy, Dave, Kevin, Mike, I want to thank you all for joining us here today. This was a ton of fun to recap the show. By all accounts, both from afar, both in the venue, it sounds like last night, to everyone that was there, was an incredible show. I know I enjoyed it, and it really held up on re-listen, and I'm glad we were able to all dive deep into this. Thank you guys for your time here today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Brian.
Nice meeting you all. Take care.
Thanks, y'all.
Yes, you as well. You guys go enjoy the 99-cent amazing pizza in New York City, and go to Garden again. These sound like great things. I wish I could do that. It's amazing. Thank you guys. Have yourself a great day. All right.
See you later.
See you guys. Bye.
All right. That was good.
Oh, yeah. Good
that was
group.
A good recap.
Nice folks.
That was fun. Very nice.
89. Folks. God, it's nice to have somebody here who's seen shows before me.
It's amazing.
That was awesome.
We got to dive deep with her because there've got to be some stories from 80s, early 90s Fish when, like she said at the top, like being able to pay $5 and just kind of shrug, I'm going to go and do this. That is such a different experience to this band than, that's one of the reasons I've been loving our dives into the 90s or like early 90s, like 1990 Fish, is that like we're hearing just a band that wants it but isn't there yet, and how do they get there? And that's such a fun period.
Yeah.
So we will be back tomorrow, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern, to recap this massive 3-set show. We have on tap 2 incredible guests. We've got Seth Gordon Lipkin, who is on Twitter at White Collar Wook, and we have John Bonanno, who's on Twitter I bet you're going to get this reference as Ribs and Whiskey, which I'm excited to talk with the two of them. I think we may have an appearance by Mr. RJB here tomorrow. That's been rumored, to dive into the 3-set New Year's Eve show, which it's so crazy to think back 4 months ago when we talked about the 12/31 show, and just such a unique show it was. And the idea of, you're in the middle of winter at that point, Omicron is going crazy. The idea that we'd be in like warm weather talking about fish at the Garden in just over 4 months is kind of mind blowing to me.
Yeah. It's kind of awesome. I'm curious.
Awesome.
I hope to make it tomorrow. I will say I might. I'll have to listen to the first set late because I'm gonna leave the house and go see Jeffrey Alexander and the Heavy Litters tonight in DC.
No way.
Yeah, and it's an outdoor show. Why not? And
It's gonna be good.
Then I'll listen to the rest of it on the car on the way home. Listen to Fish on the car on the way home, and all of that. I think if I can manage it, but I'm excited to see what they do.
I am too. It's gonna be a vibe like we've probably never experienced at a fish show, because like a 3-set show in the Garden, it's going to feel like New Year's.
Oh yeah.
But also it's a Friday. It's just a Friday night. I don't know. There's so much about this.
That's all I know.
I've got to
saying
imagine
there will be balloons.
It's going to be fun to watch. I'm going to have a fire outside tonight, and I'm going to be watching this. I'm really stoked about that. Ordering some pizza for the show. We're just going to throw a little New Year's Eve party. But we want to remind you all that we are sponsored by Sunset Lake CBD. Jonathan, do you want to tell us about Sunset Lake again?
I'd love to. Sunset Lake CBD is a majority employee-owned hemp farm located just outside of Burlington, Vermont. For years, Sunset Lake was a dairy farm producing milk for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and in 2019, they diversified and started growing hemp for CBD. Sunset Lake CBD embraces Vermont's tradition for land stewardship by using sustainable and regenerative farming techniques to build and protect healthy soils. They are 100% pesticide-free. They use minimal tillage and implement cover crops and crop rotations. They also serve as a research farm for University of Vermont agronomists to study hemp and inform best industry practices. I have talked about it before, but I will once again. I am a big fan of their hemp salve, which I use on my hands to, relieve discomfort from my arthritis. And it is just it's a great product. You can check them out and all of their great products at sunsetlakecbd.com. Please use the coupon code HFPod. You will get 20% off all products from Sunset Lake CBD. Farmer owned, Vermont grown.
We are also sponsored today by Cash or Trade, the only secondary ticketing marketplace where fans can buy, sell, and trade tickets at face value. What a concept. What a concept. Fans are able to DM each other before, during, and after transactions, and you can rate and review each other when a transaction is complete, so that future sellers and buyers know that they're working with an honest broker here. There's no added fees to selling your tickets. All sales are fully protected by Cash or Trade's trader protection policy, which guarantees your money back if anything goes wrong. And users can avoid purchase fees with a gold membership subscription. Please visit cashortrade.org to use their service and to learn more. And with that, Jonathan, it is always a pleasure talking with you about fish. And I want to give one last shout out here. We got an awesome comment here from Timothy. Megan is such a jewel and a sweetheart. So glad she's a regular now. We feel the same way. Megan is awesome. And seeing her like beaming coming out of these shows, it's the best. Because, we've had like 6 months of talking with her about fish and getting her like reaction to things and having her like live in the moment, like feeling it from the fish shows. It's a great thing to see.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. She's really a great addition to the team. So happy.
Yeah, we've had a ton of fun, and we thank you all for listening and for hanging with us. We will be back again tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. with another group of people who were at the show last night, or the show tonight, I should say. Time really is turning elastic, huh? To talk through Fish's April 2022 New Year's show. See y'all.
Bye.